Welcome to Filthy Casuals Review, a game where two bumbling magic morons try to match wits with the best brains Limited has to offer, and Marshall Sutcliffe. Just kidding, love you, Marshall. Here's how it works. When a new Magic set comes out, pro player Luis Scott-Vargas and self-proclaimed food and beverage director Marshall Sutcliffe grade all of the commons and uncommons from the set on their excellent podcast, Limited Resources. Kenny and Seth have each done a blind review of the cards on their own. The goal? Get as close as possible to the grades the pros gave them. I'll let LSV explain the grading system.
A's.
These are your bombs, your game winners, just the best cards in the set. They tend to be really efficient, good in many situations, or just capable of ending a game by themselves.
B's.
B's are cards that actively pull you towards their colors. These are headliners for a set, go-to cards, and reasons to be in a particular color, clan, or guild.
C's.
C's are playable. Most cards fall into this category. They're fairly interchangeable, and you're going to end up with a bunch in your deck. C's don't mean bad. C's are just kind of your average card.
D's.
D's are sometimes playable, but you'd prefer not to run them. These are the cards that, when you've got these in your deck, you kind of wince a little. You're actively unhappy that you have to play them.
F's.
And then F's are basically unplayable.
Seth and Kenny will get points based on how far off they are from the professional grades. It's a lot like golf. There's a lot of cursing and the low score wins. To spice it up, the loser of our little game will have to buy a booster box of the new set for the winner. Stick around till the end of the show to see who won. But for now, let's talk about some of the truly awful decisions Kenny and Seth made, and maybe even some of the valuable lessons learned, as Filthy Casuals review
Innistrad, Crimson Vow.
Welcome, everyone, to Filthy Casuals Review. Welcome, Seth, to Filthy Casuals Review.
Thank you.
I know you're excited to be here.
Oh my god, am I. What a joyous set we've been given by Wizards of the Coast.
We got work to do today. We've got our awards from the last set we have to do, and a special segment from you.
Yeah, a little special.
And then we've got the beat of things, the big review for Crimson Vow. So let's get into it. I want to give you some joy in Midnight Hunt, our awards from that, because I think you did very well in retrospect.
No, did I?
Yes. So let me start with my defeat card, Kenny's defeat. It is Heirloom Mirror, the Beetlejuice mirror. You really didn't like this card. I thought it was good. I thought, just to read it real quick, this is a transforming card. 1 and a black for an artifact. You pay 1, tap and pay a life, discard a card, and you draw a card, mill a card, put a ritual counter on it, and then if it has 3 or more, you transform it into Inherited Fiend, a 4/4 flyer that you can pay 3, exile a creature card from a graveyard, and it gets a 1/1 counter. When I looked at it, I thought, these different pieces that you're getting are all good. Like, this is a set where you want cards in your graveyard, so discarding is nice, milling is nice, and you're drawing a card, and eventually you're getting a 4/4 flyer with some upside at the end of it. This wound up being like kind of similar to Bag of Holding from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, like not enough time to do all this shit. And you, when we were talking about this card, you hated it, and you're like, I'd much rather have Ecstatic Awakener, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That wound up being a very good card. So not only did you nail this not being very good, you also nailed the comparable card being good. So me and LR, we gave this a B, and it wound up being like a D, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was my defeat, and kind of a little victory for yourself as well.
There we go. We're going to be hitting something similar today, too, it seems like.
Yep, I think so. Okay, so your defeat. I had to kind of look around for this because there was nothing that popped out in subsequent discussions from Limited Resources, but I did find one that when I was looking at the grades, it did stand out, which was Organ Hoarder.
Oh,
this was
okay, yep.
3 and a blue for a 3/2 zombie. When it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 3 cards of your library. 1 goes in your hand, and the rest go in your graveyard. You gave this a C-, they gave it a B, and I would imagine if they could regrade it, they would give it an even higher grade.
Very good.
This was the best blue common, and blue was the best color, And this was actually just the best blue card outside of the rares and mythic rares, and even including most rares.
Wow, that's high praise. That's really good.
It was that good. I mean, it's maybe better than 4 mana 3/2 draw a card. I think it probably is. Like, it just was super, super good.
Well, good. I'm glad to be proven wrong on that one.
Now, I have done something unprecedented here. I've given us both the same Triumph card.
Oh.
It is Secrets of the Key. Do you remember this card?
I don't.
This is the pay 11 mana, draw 3 cards.
Oh, yeah.
Spell.
Yeah, now I remember it.
So this is pay a blue mana an instant, you investigate, so you make a clue token. If you cast it from your graveyard, you investigate twice, and the flashback is 3 and a blue. So it's an installment plan. Ultimately, you're paying 11 total mana to draw 3 cards. And we both looked at this and said, hell no. We gave it a D. They gave it a C-. For limited resources, they were super high on blue-black as a color combo.
Sure, which they got that right.
They were completely right on that. But Luis says, I never put this in my blue-black decks, and I wrote, shocker.
Yeah. It's so underwhelming.
Yeah, it was really surprising, which is interesting because there are some really good card draw spells in the set we're going to review today.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then finally, the wild card. I'm also doing something unprecedented here. I'm giving it not to a card, but a type of card, a category of cards.
Ooh.
I'm giving it to all of the werewolves in Midnight Hunt.
Okay.
Because this was supposed to be the werewolf set. And you and I, and also Limited Resources, looked at the werewolves and were like, wow, these look aggressive and powerful. They wound up being the worst archetype and the worst colors. Red-green was garbage in this set.
Wow. Very interesting.
And a big part of that came down to there was a lot of werewolf hate in the set. Some of it was obvious, like Silver Bolt was like a colorless, common, efficient removal spell against werewolves in particular. But then there were also a bunch of cards that were good against non-flyers, big non-flying creatures, which is like every werewolf in the set.
Aha. That makes sense.
So they just didn't stack up, and they especially didn't stack up to all the value you could get in the other colors. So it was kind of a disappointment. Like, the werewolves were like a big miss in the werewolf-focused set. So,
well,
not the best.
Whoops.
All right. Before we get on into Crimson Vow, however, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you have a name for this segment that you want to do?
Just Seth's rant. I don't have the brain power to really come up with something creative at this point.
All right. Let's begin Seth's rant. Hello, all. After a quick break, we're going to get into Seth's rant about the state of Magic, and Crimson Vow in particular. If you want to skip ahead, our review begins at
18
minutes and
57
seconds.
Near the small village of Heartscrest lies an idyllic hollow abundant with flowers and berry bushes. The warren of Petal Grove is vast and expansive. Hundreds of generations have hopped around its many twisting tunnels. Stories say that this warren has been here since Loam's creation, and all rabbits who inhabit the continent today descended from them. Humans and other various predators come to hunt for rabbits every now and then, nothing out of the ordinary, and until recently, the rabbits of Petal Grove have lived in relative peace. Hello, I'm Amber, the GM of the Warren of Petal Grove. The Warren is a game about intelligent rabbits trying to make the best of a world filled with hazards, predators, and worst of all, other rabbits. I really love the idea of having a game and setting where I plus players could tell several short stories. So I recruited 12 players to play in 3 different mini-stories, all set inside the same Warren. Sessions are aired live on twitch.tv/Geekspective. You can find the VODs on Geekspective's YouTube, and you can find the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go to geekspective.com for more information.
Well, I got to reviewing this, and at the end of this review, I was pissed. I was so mad. Like, why is Wizards coming out with a set like this?
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Were you pissed just reviewing the set, or were you pissed after you looked at the grades? Was it like looking at the cards themselves, or how they were rated?
No, I was pissed at looking at the cards themselves. Like, I had to grade these cards, and I graded them as appropriate as I felt I could. But I hated everything about this set. It's blood counters. They suck. Exploit. While it could have been good, and we're going to get into this, there are 9 exploit cards in this whole set. That's 3%. There's not enough to work with there. Training. What is that? Like, what happened to Evolve? Where did this go? Like, why did we water this down? How many cards did they come out with, like, only activate once per turn? Come on, you cowards. Like, what are you doing? I got on Twitter the other day. I saw somebody was crushed. They said, oh, they ruined Odric. Well, hey, at least they're equal opportunity. They've ruined everybody in this set. Like, that's the problem. They have just ruined this. Like, they're coming out with cards so fast and so quick, and there's just no time to actually get good content out there to look and say, hey, does this work well in this whole set? They don't do that anymore. They just take these, like, random word generators and say, okay, here you go, like, have fun with this. No, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Take some time to give us some good quality content and stop giving us, like, these whole big sets. Like, there's 277 cards in here. Realistically, only 4 or 5 of them are going to be used in Constructed, and the problem is you have to use these in Constructed or else you're going to be so far behind in everywhere else. You know what I'd love to play in Modern? Green White Knights. You know what I can't play in Modern? Green White Knights. I gotta play this other stupid shit that I really don't enjoy playing if I were to be any sort of competitive. Seriously, Wizards, shame on you for this set. Shame on you. Like, in my best parent voice that I can be, I'm not mad. I am severely disappointed. Okay?
Go to your room.
Go to your room. Come back out when you come out with some shit that's better than this. Seriously. Yes, I'm an old man ranting. I understand that. I don't care. I understand why old men rant now. Like, it makes sense. When you get shit like this, you get pissed. Okay? Just let an old man just rant, okay?
Okay.
Oh my god, I'm losing my thought. I'm just so mad.
I think some thoughts to go along with that. One, I think there's a very good reason why Commander and Cube are, like, the most popular formats that exist now, is because those you can't really disturb with all of these things that they're pushing. I mean, I guess they're trying by pushing more and more Commander products that are designed for Commander, but it's easy enough in your own local group to be like, yeah, we don't play with this card, we don't like that card, you know, whereas you can't do that with actual competitive formats.
Yeah, oh yeah, if you want to be any sort of competitive, I mean, get ready to buck out about $1,500 worth of stuff to halfway be competitive.
Right.
I mean,
it's
awful.
The biggest thing I agree with you on in your speech is that looking at this set, I do find the mechanics they've introduced really disappointing. So I just want to go through. I'm on the mothership. This is from October 28th, 2021. Innistrad Crimson Vow mechanics. This is just going through the main mechanics of the set. They have training, as you alluded to. So this is a mechanic. Whenever this creature attacks with another creature with greater power, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. As you said, this is a variation on Evolve. Really, it's kind of more of a variation on Mentor, which did the opposite.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Mentor made it so that it would train a creature that had less power than it did. And so this is like a different version of that. So we've seen this before. This is kind of a slightly different variation of it. I do like training better than Mentor, but this is a variation on a mechanic we've seen. Next is Cleave, which, you know, lots of people online have correctly identified as a kicker variation.
Yeah, very, very much so. I actually cut that out of my rant. I cleaved it out.
Yeah, so Cleave makes it so that you pay a cost for a spell, and the spell has some bracketed text in it, and the bracketed text is some limitation of what the spell can do or some drawback, or you can cast it for its Cleave cost, a more expensive cost, and you get rid of those limitations, or you get rid of that drawback. So there's this running gag in the Magic community that every mechanic is a variation on kicker, and there's some truth to that, but this one just feels like A, very nakedly a variation on kicker, and B, just like a clumsier, less fun version to deal with of kicker. Like, all of these spells you could reformat as kicker and it would just be a better looking card.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Next we have, as you said, blood tokens. I'll save my thoughts on blood for our set review, because I have thoughts on them. Then we have Daybound, Nightbound. We just had that in the last set. And Disturb, which we also had in the last set. So literally everything in this set is kind of a retread of things that we've seen before. There's nothing new or exciting in the set as far like mechanically, I would say.
I totally agree.
And especially we just had an Innistrad set. There's not much to recommend here. The only thing that I personally am a little more drawn to, Amber and I talked about this in our last episode. The last set, really, I played it. I reviewed all the cards. I played a bunch with the cards. I could not have told you what the story was without looking it up on a wiki. This one, at least I know, Olivia Voldaren is getting married to Edgar Markov, and there's something, you know. It's not just Innistrad again, even though much of the set does just feel like even more Innistrad. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's just very disappointed in this set here.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently as well. Like, what was the last set that you think you were excited to see come out?
Kaldheim for me. I really enjoyed that set, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Kaldheim was neat.
Yeah, Kaldheim was great. I really enjoyed that one. Strixhaven less so, but I was like, okay, I can kind of get behind this. The lessons were cool.
Yeah,
I think they could really start working with that one. Forgotten Realms was kind of whatever for me. It just didn't do much because I don't really play D&D as much, but I could see where, a significant subset can be very excited for that. Midnight Hunt, I'm kind of okay. Haha, yeah, we've seen Innistrad before. Let's see what you can do here. The set sucks. Like, let's bring on whatever they're doing for Kamigawa at this point. Like, that's what I'm waiting on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be a big deal for you because I think it is going to be like a major. Well, we're returning to something, but it sounds like it's going to be wildly different from the last time we were there.
I know, which I'm trying to keep
we'll
an open mind with that one. I want the traditional, like that was really cool, and I really enjoy it because I wouldn't consider myself a history buff or anything like that, but I really enjoyed just seeing what kind of world they could build with their dynasties.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Kamigawa is a set that's ripe for a review because A, it was a long time ago. B, it was like a set that had a lot of potential but suffered just because of where it landed historically. Like, you're coming off these broken sets, and so they had to power it down, and it felt kind of bad by comparison to other sets. So that would be a fun one to go back and just give a straight-up revisit to, much like when they came back to Dominaria after so long. They didn't try to do anything fancy with it. They were just like, we're coming back to this world that you love. Although they did introduce fun new mechanics. Sagas were introduced in Dominaria, which is like one of the most popular things they've done in years now. And
yeah, I mean,
that's what's really missing in this set. There's nothing in this set that people will look back on and be like, that was the set where they did X, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's just nothing here. There's no content. Like, even with like Forgotten Realms and like venturing into the dungeons, like
totally.
It's got something. Like, we can at least hang our hat on that. It might not be something that actually nothing may come out of it, but at least we've got something.
Remember it. That was the set with D&D. It was the set where you could delve into the dungeon.
Exactly. There's nothing to remember this by day and night. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all this hype, should we get into our review now?
Absolutely.
All right, sweet. Well, let us begin, as we always do, with the gold cards, the signposts, as they're known. Do you want to kick us off here with a card?
Sure thing. Yeah, let's start off with Brian Comer. And I'll read this one off here. It is a transformational card here, but on the first side here, it's 1 white and a blue. It's a creature, spirit, uncommon, 1/1. Whenever this card enters the battlefield or becomes the target of an aura spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. This also has Disturb for white and a blue, and becomes Brinebound Gift, which is enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Whenever this enters the battlefield or enchanted creature becomes the target of an aura spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. If this were to be put in the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So essentially you get the same thing, just in
attached to
an
a
aura
creature.
form. Yeah, exactly. For me, I gave this a C minus. You gave this a B minus. Limited Resources gave this a B. I actually wanted to give this a D or an F initially because I looked up the number of auras that are actually in this set, to which there are 19. And I think attaching an aura spell, Limited Resources always talks about how like attaching auras to a creature just puts a target on their back. It makes them really tough, and so it's like, okay, so that's one thing there. I think it's a very underwhelming ability to get a 1/1 white spirit creature. I guess the flying might make the difference there to have some evasion to kind of fly over. So I'll give it that.
Right.
And then of the 19 auras that are available in this set, at least 8 of them are rated a D or an F. So we'll talk about that here throughout the set. So Limited Resources rated these as D and F. So it's like you can't have it both ways. So if your supporting cast sucks so bad, this guy can't be that good. Like that's the thing. So like I gave this a C minus. I'm trying to be nice about it. Seriously, like initially I gave this a D or an F. And until I started looking at Skull Scab, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit, I thought this might be the worst uncommon staple that we've reviewed to date. I really don't like it.
Yeah, I'm definitely also skeptical of the blue-white archetype of casting lots of auras. I did want to say, are you looking at creature auras in particular?
I was looking at anything that was an aura that was not like a curse. Like it could have been something that, like this one here, could have been start out a creature. It's,
Gotcha.
Transformed, disturbed over to an enchantment, just a straight up enchantment. Anything that had aura in it.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I think this one gets most of the way for me just straight off of base stats. You're paying 3 mana for a 1/1 and a 1/1 flyer, and then an extra 2 for another 1/1 flyer. So with one card, you're getting 2 1/1 flyers and a 1/1. And then that's the floor. That's the basement of what you're getting.
Okay.
And you could get more. That being said, I agree with what you're saying. I think this comes down to how much Disturb do you have in your deck. If you're in a really focused Disturb deck, then Disturb obviously makes auras better, right? Because like you said, auras suck in the sense that you're attaching them to a creature, you're opening yourself up to a 2-for-1, right?
Yep.
Disturb gets around that by the enchantment aura is attached to another spell. So you're getting a 2-for-1 by playing this spell and then disturbing it back. So you're back to neutral. So in a focused Disturb deck, this is going to generate value for you on top of being fine as far as the base stats go. That being said, I don't know. I think you're like, on turn 3, I play a spell and I get a 1/1 dork and a 1/1 flyer. And then what? I'm hoping to untap on turn 4 and enchant it and make another flyer? Like, that's my best case scenario, I guess. It looks potentially sketchy. I can agree with that.
I'm just not on board with it.
Yeah.
Okay. You have one you want to open up with?
Yeah, kind of similar. Like another signpost uncommon gold card that I'm not convinced by, and it looks like you aren't either. Markov Waltzer. So this is the red-white signpost. This is 2 red-white for a 1/3 vampire flying haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 2 target creatures you control each get +1/+0 until end of turn. So this one, there are a lot of cards in this set where I looked at and I'm just looking at the numbers. Like I'm just looking at the rate that you get for the card. Now this one is 4 mana for a 1/3 flying haste. Obviously that's not good enough by itself, right?
Right.
It can give itself +1/+0 the turn it comes into play. So actually, even though it reads as 4 mana 1/3 flying haste, at worst it's 2/3 flying haste for 4 mana. That's not good enough either, in my book.
Doesn't cut the mustard for me either.
So 1 extra +1/+0, is that enough to take it up to this is actually a good card? I can imagine a curve out draw where you play this guy after a good 2-drop and a good 3-drop, and then giving having a 1 attack in the air and then an extra 2 power to throw around is good. That's very specific for me. Like, you have to hit it exactly in that sequence and top it with this, and then it's good. And that's assuming they haven't messed with your creatures at all.
Exactly.
And so I just think the power toughness here is not good enough on a 4-mana creature for me. So I would end up giving this a C+. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you one thing. Would you play a generic 2 red-white flying haste 3/3?
Yeah, I would.
I think that's the difference. And had they just done that, I think this card would have been a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could just boost its power by 1, and I would be changing my tune.
I think I would too. I just think this is just too underwhelming, especially when this set is meant to attack. Like this is a very aggressive set, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I just don't think this is really where you want to be.
Yeah, I think 4 mana is just too much for me at the end of the day for what you get here. And this is one, I mean, there are a lot of cards like this where you can definitely lose to this. You absolutely can lose to it.
Oh, sure.
But to me, this doesn't fall into the, I will first pick it. They gave it a B+, which is like really premium. I said it's a C+. Like, in an aggro deck, I do think it's a good card. Don't get me wrong. And you said it's a C. You said it's like an average playable in that deck. We're kind of in the same ballpark. But I don't look at this and think, oh man, I gotta be in red-white.
No, this definitely does not convince me to get in those 2 colors.
Yeah.
So.
All right. One last card. We both want to talk
Yes.
about this one. I'll let you lead it off.
Okay. This one is, and I alluded to this just a little bit ago, Skull Scab. It's blue and a black. It's 2/2 uncommon zombie creature. It's exploit. And with exploit, when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. Whenever a creature you control exploits a non-token creature, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. For me, I rated this a C-. Kenny, you rated this a C+. Limited Resources rated this as a B. Again, I wanted to say this was a D or an F, simply because there are 9 total cards with exploit. That is about a 3.4% chance that you're even going to see 1 exploit card, regardless of the rarity. And you're just not going to have enough here to support it. There's just not enough of a supporting cast. And even at that, one of those that I believe we'll be talking about was rated at a D or an F. Like, it's unplayable. So now, if that's truly the case, now you're down to 8 cards. That's getting even worse. Like,
well, we should say, too, that 2 of those cards you're talking about are rares.
Yeah,
so
2 of them are rares, yeah.
You're not going to see and 2 of them are rares, and one of them is a rare that they gave a very bad grade to in their subsequent rare and mythic rare.
Even worse. Like, that's, like, exploit could have been good. It could have. I like exploit, but there's just no supporting cast to even play this.
That's interesting.
If the supporting cast is not there, and the ones that did show up, if they're not even very good, then why are you playing this? Well, don't waste your time.
I think I would. You know what? I think I would still say build around on this card, but you know what the build around is dependent on is having multiples of this specific card.
Yeah.
If you draft a deck and you have multiple Skull Scabs, then you're popping off. Then, whenever you play one, you exploit, you get a zombie. You play another one, exploit something, and you get 2 zombies. And now all of these common exploit cards are really popping off. So I think if you get multiple Skull Scabs, it is good. But you did the homework here of looking at what is the support for it. And if I had done the same thing, I think I'd be even more in your camp and say this is like kind of fringe playable.
Yeah, you better cut this hard and hope that nobody else is playing it in your pod.
Yeah, interesting.
So
I can agree. I think so far anyway, I did a casual glance over the grades that we gave compared to LR. I think you and I are mostly in the same camp as far as like where we lean compared to LR on the cards that we do disagree on.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously on this show, we don't talk about the cards where we are all in agreement.
Sure.
All right, you ready to go to white?
Absolutely.
I've got a lot of cards to talk here. I'm just going to, I guess, maybe rapid fire.
Lightning round.
Let's start with Dawnheart Geist.
Okay.
This is an uncommon. 1 and a white for a 1/3, a spirit warlock. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 2 life. So I said D or F. You said C. They said build around C+. Here are my thoughts on this, okay? 1, the stat block is dumpy, right?
Yep.
A 2-mana 1/3 is not good. Okay, so we're not playing it for the body. So we're playing it for the build around. And you have to play enchantments or this card doesn't do anything. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about the Brinecomber. Are we really playing that many enchantments in our decks?
Yeah.
This card requires you to play a creature that is bad on stats, play enchantments, which are not that good, and also have life gain payoffs if you want to actually make use of it. For me, this asks too many things of you to be good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the payoff of 2 life is kind of whatever.
It's
Really,
very whatever. Like there is in black white. That's life gain is the thing in black white.
Mhm.
But this doesn't just gain you life and you can trigger things. You have to play enchantments and then you can gain some life. And
Yeah.
enchantments are in white blue. So this card for me
This
is
is
like
true.
it just is like pulling you in way too many directions for me to be good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's I like you said, I rated this a C. I probably actually would be a little bit lower on this one now that even just looking at that. This is so usually how in my method I usually review the monocolored cards first
Yeah.
before I review the gold cards. But yeah, and this was I start with white, so this is like number 6 that we reviewed. So
Right.
it's like
Your
you
early
start
days.
off like, yeah, you're pretty even keeled. Like, okay,
Right.
okay. And then like eventually like, yeah, this sucks. This is great. This sucks. Yeah. And then, so yeah, this was very early on. So I probably would have rated this one lower had I looked at it again. But even at that, so with my uncommons, I usually start at a B minus and I
adjust from
downgrade
there.
this to a C. Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't like it and I still don't, but
Yeah. I mean,
looking at it again, I would make it even lower.
I don't know. If this winds up good, I would be very surprised. Like
I would be too.
if it were 2 mana at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life. I still wouldn't be that big of a fan of it, and that would be much
Mhm.
better than what this is.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, just kind of one of those that's not exciting,
No.
and it takes a lot to actually get it going. Which,
Yeah.
enchantment wise, I don't know. Like, I specifically talked about auras, but I know there's more enchantments. I don't know what that number is per se, but I can't imagine that it's a huge supporting cast still.
No, it's not. I mean, and
So-
enchantments are very seldom like we're not in Theros. This isn't
No.
an enchantment themed set. So most of the enchantments you're going to see are going to be auras because that is a supported archetype.
Right. Yeah,
And
that
as
makes
you
sense.
said, auras are inherently not that good.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. Next, rapid fire number 2.
Lightning round.
Fierce Retribution.
Okay.
This is 1 and a white and instant. Destroy target brackets attacking creature, and you can cleave it for 6 to just destroy a creature. I gave this a B minus. You and LR gave it a C. I can give you my reasoning here. The rate is very good on the non-cleave side. 1 white instant kill an attacking creature seems very good to me. And then you do have the buyout of if you are more controlling or if you're in a good position, you're not being attacked. Now you have an expensive, clunky, but good removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
So it can break parity. I just thought the rate of 2 mana kill a creature was so good. And it has the drawback of it has to be attacking, but that just seems very hot to me.
Yeah, because this set is, and again, this is like the 10th card, so I was trying to be a little bit more
Right.
even keeled with this one. But again, I agree with you. I would have rated this higher looking back, because again, this set is all about attacking
Yeah.
and making sure your board state is somehow better than the opponents, and that's how you're going to get them. So, yeah, I really like this card too. I probably would. I think what I did was I saw that Cleave 5 in a white. I was like, ooh, no. So I kind of rated this mid-pack. Definitely wasn't my. I kind of remember my thought process with this one. I was like, okay, it's a common. Let's rate it a C.
Sure.
I actually, again, so uncommons I start at B- and I rate from there. Commons I rate at C- and then I rate from there. So I made this a C. So I like this a little bit
came
better.
up a little bit.
It did. Probably would have came up even more had I re-looked at everything.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what would you give? I mean, here's a good question. What would you give a card that just said 1 white instant, destroy target attacking creature?
I mean, I'd probably give that a C+, probably.
Yeah, and this is just better than that.
It is, yeah. That's very good.
That's kind of where I was at too. It's like it's a good card. I mean, it's limiting, so it's not great. I think it's a pretty average card, and giving it this alternate mode where you can just kill something, I think took it up for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is fair. I like that.
All right, rapid fire number 3. This one I really want to be rapid. Heron of Hope.
Lightning round.
Okay.
This is 3 and a white for a 2/3 creature bird flying. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. And then 1 and a white, it gains lifelink until end of turn. This one is another example in this set where I just look at the cost and the power toughness, and I'm like not interested. 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer is not good. The extra life gain is not significant. Like, what? So this will gain you an extra 4 life a game, something like that. And then you have to hold up mana to give it lifelink, even though you can't attack with it because its stats are so bad. So I gave this a D or F. They gave it a C. You gave it a C.
And the only reason I gave it a C is because it has flying. I just figured you could fly over the creatures. That's the only reason why. I did not base it on any of that other text.
Yeah.
I rated it as a 3 white 2/3 flyer. That's truly how I rated this card.
Yep.
I'm not excited about it, but I'll play it. That's a C. That's what that is.
Okay. My last rapid fire card, and then we can I can finally pass the mic to you. Is Allenbach export. Yeah, I want to export it. Escort.
I get it.
Lightning round.
All right, this is 1 white mana for a 1/1 human cleric with vigilance. Sacrifice it. Target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. You and I both gave this versions of C's. The LR boys gave it a B-. Build around B-. A 1/1 vigilance for 1 obviously sucks, right?
Yep.
Can we all agree?
Oh, yeah.
So we have to really care about this extra clause. And the extra clause says you save a creature with a +1/+1 counter from a removal spell. What would they give a 1 mana spell that says target creature gets hexproof until end of turn?
To sacrifice it?
Yeah, like imagine it's a 1 mana instant. Target creature gets hexproof.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's a very good grade.
No, and there is a card in blue that is kind of similar. It's an aura that gives hexproof when it has flash and gives hexproof for a turn. So it's kind of similar, and they gave, I think, some version of a C too. And this just reads the same way, except it has this limitation that it has to have a +1/+1 counter on it. So I don't know. I don't look at this and I'm not inspired. They're like, wow, this is in the B category. Like this is where you want to be. I can't imagine it being that good. Am I wrong about that?
The only thing I'll give it, and I'm struggling to do this at this, but the only thing I'll give it is that it is 1 mana for a 1/1 vigilance. It hasn't in the text itself. So I imagine that people are wanting to give this a +1/+1 counter. For whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe they don't.
There's a tension there, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to put this in the deck, obviously, the green-white +1/+1 counter deck.
Yeah.
But you don't want to put counters on this thing because ultimately
yeah.
you want to sacrifice it to save some good creature you have.
Hmm.
So the play pattern with this is you're hoping, I'm going to play this on turn 1, get in for like 2 damage, and then hold this back to save one of my creatures.
Sure.
That's fine, I guess,
Yeah.
but not inspiring to me. Like, I think that's okay, but
Yeah.
it doesn't strike me as like, wow, I really did it. I got in for 2 damage, and now I get to counter a removal spell. Whew.
Hmm. Yeah. I will say though, this is I'm just scanning through the white cards real quick.
Mhm.
There's only like 3 1-mana white cards, white creatures.
So it kind
This
of
one
fills
included.
that gap.
It does. So it kind of just puts it on curve more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Which,
that's true.
And still, it's kind of weak.
Yeah,
with that.
I would hate to top deck this. You have to be if you're ahead and you top deck this, then that's kind of cool. Because
Sure.
it's like now I've got this extra blanket of security, but I don't know. Is that good?
Not really.
Yeah.
I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's my rapid fire done. You can take
Okay.
it away.
All right, I've got a couple more here in white, and then I will be good. So
Okay.
my first one that I would like to talk about is Radiant Grace.
Okay.
So this one here is another transform card. We'll start off here with the front side. It is for a white. It is an enchantment. It's an aura. It's uncommon. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and has vigilance. When an enchanted creature dies, return Radiant Grace to the battlefield transform under your control attached to target opponent. On the flip side, Radiant Restraints. This is an aura curse. It's an enchantment. You enchant a player. Creatures enchanted player controls enter the battlefield tapped. So, for me, I gave this a B-, thinking, yeah, okay, so this is keeping your attackers at bay. By having him come in to play tapped. In retrospect, I really didn't see all that much haste in this set, so probably a miss on that one there. But I gave this a B-. You and Limited Resources gave this a D or an F, which is funny because this is actually one of those, and this is at an uncommon level. If Limited Resources likes Brinecomer so much, then they need to be liking these kinds of cards here, because this is one of the very few
That you can put on
statistic-
Brinecomer.
Yeah, exactly. So can't have it both ways. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the way it will go is the way you're talking about, which is Brinecomer is not that good, and this card is not that good. So they
Right.
should both be rated pretty poorly.
Yeah. So this was kind of a miss on my part, and then we're going to talk about an artifact way down the line that feels kind of similar to this one here, which I also missed on that one too. So we'll,
Okay.
let's get the 1-2 punch out of the way on that one.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I've got one more in white here.
Okay.
Sigarda's Imprisonment.
Yes, I also want to talk about this card.
Another enchantment aura. This is a 2 and a white. It's it is common. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. It's pacifism, essentially.
Yep.
If people are familiar with that. But you can also pay 4 and a white to exile the enchanted creature, and then you create a blood token. And for reference, a blood token is an artifact with pay 1, tap, discard a card, sacrifice this artifact to draw a card. There's a lot of stuff for a blood token.
It's a rummage.
Yes, exactly. With this one here, I rated it as a C. You rated it as a B-.
Yeah.
Limited Resources rated this as a D or an F.
Yeah.
It's not a D or an F. Like that. Like I'm just gonna start with that. It's not unplayable.
I am getting a kick right now of reading our 2 sets of comments here. You're being very reasonable, and I just said question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah. I tried to have some words to it, but I totally understand what you mean by all your question marks.
So here's the thing that they said where I get this part of it. In a set where exploit is a mechanic, this kind of aura, like aura removal, looks worse. That's definitely true. Like,
Okay.
you enchant their creature, it can't attack or block, and then they respond on their next turn by exploiting it and getting value out of it, that doesn't feel good.
Sure.
Right? But that's one color combination.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've kind of alluded to, doesn't look that great necessarily.
Yep.
And you have the extra buyout of paying 5 to permanently get rid of it, and even getting a little extra value off the top. As you said, it's basically a pacifism with some upside.
Yeah.
And pacifism is great.
Pacifism's great, and by exiling it, maybe it was a disturbed card that you place this on. So now that's eliminated their ability to disturb and get it back. So that's why exiling it is important.
Yeah.
It's not unplayable. We'll say that. And I think this card actually gets better when limited resources realizes that exploit is there's just not enough there to actually support this. Because if that's their reason for the DRF, they're going to change their tune with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one more card in white, but I kind of want to move on because
Okay.
it fits into a larger theme that we might come back on. And we obviously I'm glad you have a lot
of blue to talk about.
I'm glad you did too, because when I was first listening to their episode, and I always listen to them, I'm writing down the grades they give, and I'm taking notes based on if I disagree with them or if I have something to say. And blue, which was the first color they looked at, I was going, there's so many. I was like, oh my God. I'm glad you have a lot you want to talk about too.
Oh, absolutely. You and I were both very off base from what limited resources was in blue. It was kind of crazy. I don't think we've ever been this far off base. I won't say right or wrong, but
just in general.
We're in two totally different camps.
Yeah.
With this one.
So let me start with one that I was wrong about, and I hope I am. So this is Cobbled Lancer.
Okay.
This is 1 blue mana for a 3/3, a zombie horse. As an additional cost, you exile a creature card from your graveyard when you cast it, and you can pay 4 to exile it from your graveyard to draw a card. I hope I'm wrong. I gave this a C. Oh, sorry. I gave this a C+. You gave it a B-. They gave it a B. I hope it is. I hope it is that good, because that will make this set more fun, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If this mill strategy is enabled where you can play this and it's good, or you just mill it into your graveyard itself and just get extra value by exiling it, I hope it's good. I think that what's going to happen is you're going to play this card on like turn 4 or 5, and it'll be whatever.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I just felt this creature was so efficient. So 3 mana,
It is.
3/3 for 1 mana, with a set that's so focused on the graveyard. I think this will be a good card. But I do see what you're saying. I think this will be like I think it's still a pretty good like turn 3 play, and it's really gonna beat down a lot of different creatures, because if you kind of noticed, toughness wise, aside for a few high toughness creatures in here, this is really going to beat up on a lot of creatures. So
Yeah.
And then with that too, again, being in the graveyard, and as you said, still provides a little additional value as well. So I think it does enough stuff to warrant some good play, and I think it's efficient enough to be good, and be excited to actually play this card. So
I think it could be. Like, I'm hopeful that,
Yeah.
like I said, I really hope this card is good. I hope there is a deck where you can play this on turn 3 or 4 with another play and really start popping off. I think that would be a very blue-green, if that's good, that would be a good sign for this format.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
All right, cool. Let's go to your next card, which we agree on.
We do. And I think I was actually being nice with this card. I'm not nice in my comments, but I was nice initially with it. This card is Diver Scab. It's 3 blue. It is an uncommon 3/5 zombie creature. It has exploit, so when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When this card exploits a creature, target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library.
Mm-hmm.
I gave this a C-. You gave this a C-. LR gave this a B+. What?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Like, here's my notes. Here's what I said verbatim. Who in the right mind is playing this card? It's a terrible exploit, and a 3/5 for 5 is not efficient for this set. I wanted to give this a D or an F. I don't like it at all. I think it's okay. So my thought was like the way it's worded is that like, okay, yeah, let's get cute here. Let's steal a creature, be in red, like blue red. Okay, sure, that's a pretty common color combination. There was only one like act of treason-esque kind of card that I saw.
Right, that's not a big part of the exploit.
No, it's not. It's not. And again, only 9 exploit creatures in this set. So let's keep harping on that. Then you can put the creature that you sacrifice. You can put it on top or bottom of your library. Okay. I mean, if you have a lesser creature, you don't really want to get it back on top of your library. That kind of helps your opponent. If you put it on bottom of your library, generally you're trying to like get some more value out of those. So like say you have like a disturbed card that you're sacrificing to get a little bit more value.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you had Sigarda's Imprisonment on this one. Now, here we go. You got me. This is kind of a feel bad card.
Well, let me just make sure here. So you cast this spell to 3/5, it exploits, so you sacrifice a creature, then you target a different creature. That creature's owner puts it on top or bottom of their library. So you can use this to bounce one of your opponent's creatures, and they choose, do you want it on top or bottom of your library?
Oh, I guess I read that wrong. Okay.
So the exploited creature is different from the target creature that gets bounced.
Okay. That makes it better.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes it better. I won't just absolutely shit on this card then at that rate, but I'm still not going to give it much.
I think if this creature did exactly what it says without exploit. So if it was a 5-mana 3/5 that just made target creature's owner put it on top or bottom, I would be fully with them. I would be like, wow, that's pretty good.
Sure.
That's a B+. I would definitely play that card.
Yes, I would play that.
But you have to work for it, and you have to lose a creature. So maybe I'd give it like a build around of some kind, but losing a creature to bounce one of their creatures doesn't sound that good to me.
No, that's not good at all.
I still don't totally buy it.
Yeah, it's okay. It is. I did misread this, and I did not fully understand it. But still, at that rate, I'm not changing my grade.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so C-.
Yep, we'll see. I mean, there's a possibility that maybe there is some synergistic exploit deck where you're exploiting creatures for value, and then it gets interesting. But I don't know. It seems like a lot of work you have to do to make that happen.
I agree.
All right.
Okay.
Up.
Let's talk about a counter. I know that we always have trouble with these, so I think this is just an excellent one here to discuss because there's so much going on here. So,
all right, cool.
Let's talk about Geistlight Snare. It's 2 and a blue, uncommon instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit. It also costs 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Okay. So grade-wise, I gave this a D or an F. You gave this a C-. LR gave this a build around C- to C+. So it sounds like they had a range as well with this one.
Yeah, they're basically like, if you're building around it, it can get up to a C+.
Okay.
And only a little bit, maybe it's a C-.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of just went on past history with this one, is that generally they don't like counters, so I rated this as a D or an F, but I truly didn't know how to rank this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, without support, I did not think this was good, and then with half support, this is a mana leak. With dual support, this is an even better version of like a force spike.
Right.
I don't know. I just think with just like the set of just trying to get quick hitting creatures out, again, like just attack and get out there and be as efficient as possible. I think holding up mana like that is just being a disservice and like trying to build. I don't think enchantments and spirits are really where it's at with this set, so I don't think that's great. But I did want to ask you. Okay, so let's build a card. Okay. let's see what you think of this one. And this kind of goes into how you would construct a counter within a set. So I'm going to
In a
build
limited environment.
in a limited environment.
Okay.
Let's just see how this goes.
Okay.
So imagine you have a card that's 2 and blue, okay? Instead of 2 and blue here for Geistlight Snare.
Sure.
We're going to have the same language on the top part. So it costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit, costs 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. The change in text is simply counter target spell. There's no like if it pays 3 or anything like that. It's just pure it's a counter spell. Like the old school counter spell. So at best it can be blue counter target spell.
Yeah.
But it's got to have some help.
Yep.
How would you rank something like that?
To me, I think that does not change how I grade it in limited.
Okay.
I think that would make it interesting and constructed, because now in a spirits enchantment deck, all of a sudden you have regular old counterspell, which has been proven to be very good in constructed environments.
Yep.
But I think here's how I would change it if you wanted to make it. If we're just thinking of limited, same thing, but I'd just make it 3 and a blue.
Oh, okay.
The double blue makes it hard.
It
Like, holding
does.
up 2 blue is much harder than holding up blue. And you're already making people work to have spirits and enchantments. So I would just have it would just be 1 blue turns into a counterspell if you have a spirit and an enchantment.
Okay. That's fair. Very good. Okay, cool. I just wondered how much it was like paying 3, because, later in the game that can kind of really fall off hard.
Yeah.
Versus just having a counter. So I was just kind of curious to see what your thoughts were on something like that.
No, I agree. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about this while we're talking about this counter spell is Syncopate, which I gave a C-2. They gave a C. You gave a D or F. And my comment in here, this was more just a comment on counters in general in this set. I think what I'm going to do going forward is just flip a coin whenever there's a counter spell, because I don't have any idea what makes them say this is a C, this is a D, this is an F. It just seems like they're just all over the place with what they think is good and what they don't think is good. In my experience, having played all the recent sets, counters that are 3 or less are generally fine to play. I think they're all C's. This is a C. Like, this seems fine to me. And they don't get better than that. If it's more than 3, it's no good. If they're conditional and they're 3, it gets worse. So, I don't know. I don't know what... Their thought process seems to be all over the place for me. But I see them as being generally okay.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, no, I appreciate your... insight on that. You play counters a lot more than I do. I'm more the aggressive type.
I don't even play them that much. I just have them cast on me in limited.
That's fair. But I do think, like, let's just real quick on Syncopate. I do think that Syncopate is the right type of counter that you want to have for this set, because it's exiling instead of going to the graveyard.
Right.
But even at that, yeah, I agree. It's tough whenever you're looking at counters and trying to decipher what kind of grade you think limited resource is going to give. So,
yep.
Okay.
Moving on to a card that this is, we've been kind of negative. I want to go to a card that I feel I want to celebrate a little bit.
Oh, great. Okay.
Lantern Bearer. I gave it a C+. You gave it a C+. They gave it a C+. This is one blue mana for a 1/1 flying spirit with Disturb, 2 and a blue, disturbs into an enchant creature. The creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. And I was just very proud of me and you for finally rating a 1 mana 1/1 flyer with upside correctly. Good for
time,
us.
Right?
I think we've learned a lesson at long last.
I think so too.
All right. Why don't you lead us into our next card?
Okay.
Like we said, we've got so much blue to talk about.
We
still
really
have
do.
So many more.
Oh, I know. Are we halfway done with our blue yet? I don't
Just
even
about.
know. Ooh. Okay. Next one, Mischievous Catgeist. 1 and a blue. It's a cat spirit, uncommon, 1/1. Whenever Mischievous Catgeist deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This disturbs for 2 and a blue into Cat-like Curiosity. which is Enchantment Aura, Enchant Creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and if it were to be put into the graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. Okay, I gave this a B-. You gave this a C+. Limited Resources gave this a D or an F. Again, this is another aura that is limited, so let's remember what Brian Comer's going to be like whenever you start playing, folks. So don't play it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I like this card. I really do. Yeah, 1/1 for 2, but like you can get some card draw on this thing. It's got Disturb, so it can come back and it can help another creature that's a little more evasive to be able to draw cards. Like Curiosity is a good card, and I understand this is not Curiosity, even though Curiosity like a cat and everything, whatever. Anyways, card draw's king. Like seriously, and this is a good card draw engine that I'm sure that there is a way. I can't think of anything right now. I'm all hopped up on antibiotics. I got a sinus infection that I'm recovering from, but I think there is a way for this card to be good. Definitely a lot better than a D or an F. So
Definitely.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on this one?
I have many thoughts on this. So one thought I have that is just a very like caveman brain thought is that, and they even recognize this in the show, there will be games where you play this on turn 2, they don't play a blocker next, and you just get to start drawing cards.
Yeah.
Which obviously in those games you just run away with the game.
Sure.
And then even eventually this will chump, they'll remove it, something, or you just attack into them, they have to block it, and now you can disturb it and start drawing more cards. Like, you will win some games for free just playing a 2-mana, not a looter, but what's the name of this style of card? An Ophidian is what they call it.
Yeah.
A 2-mana Ophidian is not to be underestimated because of its potential to just steal games sometimes. And then, I think this is one of the premier Disturb cards to throw on something if you are building the Disturb Aura style deck.
Yep,
I think
I
it's
agree.
just good. You mill this card and 3 mana, get a Curiosity onto something. All you have to do with this card is hit 1 time, and you are ahead off of it. And for 2 mana, I think that's pretty damn good.
I agree.
And that's also not taking into account the deck that you build with this, where it's like blue-black tempo removal spells, bounce spells.
Mm-hmm.
You just run away with it by removing a blocker, hitting them, drawing a card. They play something else, you remove it, hit, get another thing. They kill this eventually. You put this on a 1/1 flyer, you hit, you draw another card. Like, there's just... the potential is there. I do not see this as a you shouldn't play this card, which is where they're putting it.
Yeah, I hard disagree with that part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense to me either. You know what else doesn't make sense to me?
Repository
Scab.
You don't like the exploits in this set.
No, I hate the exploits. They suck. The supporting cast did not show up to play. Okay.
I hated this even more than you did.
I know. I really should have gone with my gut on this one here. So, you should also read my notes while I'm reading the card here.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Repository Scab, 3 and a blue, creature zombie, 3/3, exploit. Whenever this card exploits a creature, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I gave this a C-. I wish I gave this a D or an F. You did give it a D or an F. You held true. Limited Resources gave this a build around B-. Okay. What did you say about this one?
So this is an old classic for Filthy Casuals review.
Yep.
So anyone who's listened to these episodes knows that I am a fool for crappy hill giants. So 4-mana 3/3 creatures that give you some kind of upside. I always overrate them. They're always bad. LR rates them bad, and they're right. They never turn out very well. And this is a 4-mana 3/3. You have to sacrifice a creature when it comes into play, and your big payoff is you draw a sorcery or instant from your graveyard. And this, to me, reads like all those other cards. Like, if this didn't have exploit, it would be great.
Yep.
That goes for a lot of exploit cards, is that if they didn't have exploit and they just did what they said, they would be very good. But the fact that you have to sacrifice a creature to make it happen really takes something away. Maybe it is good. Like, Here's something I feel, and I don't know if this is
Okay.
true or not. I can imagine a world where in a week where we get LR's like first look into how is Crimson Vow really playing out. Maybe exploit is good. Maybe you can support it and make it happen, and this is great. But all these cards seem so dicey. I think there is a nut exploit deck in the format. I don't think it's going to happen very often.
No,
I
it's going
think
to be so few and far between.
You're going to have to work your ass off and hope that no one else is drafting it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So I'd like to petition to rename this card actually to Suppository Scab, because for me, I think it's about as enjoyable as getting a suppository, which I'm going to hint that it's not enjoyable. It's
Yeah.
not enjoyable in the slightest. So if you hear me reference this card anymore, it's going to be Suppository Scab, because it's not unenjoyable.
There are good draws with this. There's like, you play the 2 mana card, when you sacrifice it, you get a 2/2 zombie. That you will you'll play this on 4 to sacrifice this, get a 2/2 zombie, and draw a removal spell from your graveyard. That will happen. But
Sure.
that will not be the typical play pattern with this card, I don't think.
No, it will not be.
I think most of the time you'll play this and be like, I don't really want to sacrifice a creature, and I'm getting a spell back, but I'm also playing a 4 mana 3/3 creature. Like,
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem great.
Just feel bad moments. Yeah. I don't like it.
I tell you, this card would have been great in the last set, with all those decayed zombies running around for free.
Oh, that would have been.
This would have been phenomenal in the last
Yep,
set.
I agree.
I don't think it's well supported in this set.
I
All right.
agree with that.
One last card in blue to talk about. Let's talk about Soul Cipher Board, where you and I are in complete agreement. All right, so this is 1 in a blue for an artifact. Enters the battlefield with 3 omen counters on it. Pay 1 in a blue. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 in your graveyard. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from anywhere, remove an omen counter. When you remove them all, you transform it. It turns into a 3/2 flying cipher-bound spirit. Can only block creatures with flying. Pay 4 mana. Draw 2 cards. Then discard a card. It's a lot of text.
Cool.
I have to say, this reminded me a lot of the Heirloom Mirror, where you're paying a lot of mana and doing a lot of shit and not really getting much accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think this is going to pay off.
Nope. Tell you what, which would you rather have? Would you rather have this, or would you rather have Delver Secrets from the last set?
Good question. I think Delver.
I would
probably.
too. Absolutely.
It's just cheaper.
It's cheaper, and I think you can build around that a little bit more. This thing's slow. For a 3/2 flyer that can be killed very easily.
Here's my big thing with this card. I don't think you're ever going to activate it.
No.
Like, if you've built a good deck where you are playing things on each of your turns, you play this on turn 2, you're not going to activate it on turn 3.
Mm-mm.
You're not going to activate it on turn 4. Like, so you're spending this card and this turn to do nothing for multiple turns, and eventually your big payoff is a 3/2 flyer. Just doesn't seem good enough to me.
No, it's not. It's really not. Oh, did we even talk about our grades?
No, I don't think we did. I said we agreed. We both gave it D's or F's.
Yeah.
They gave it a build around B, so they think this is like, oh, let's go for it. I don't think so.
I don't think they're going to be building much with it.
I don't
really
think so. Okay. Finally, we can move
that all
past
blue?
the curse of blue.
Woo! Okay.
Move on to black.
Okay.
I'll start by talking about Doomed Dissenter.
Okay.
So this is 1 in a black for a 1/1 creature. When it dies, you make a 2/2 zombie creature token. I gave this a D or F. You gave it a C. They gave it a C+. My only comment here is that I wasn't thinking about exploit. I think if you just put this in a normal set, it's obviously not good. 2 mana 1/1's not good. Okay, it dies into a 2/2. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's not much better at all than just a 2 mana 2/2 vanilla. But if you're exploiting it, it's great, obviously.
Sure.
It basically completely gets around the exploit cost. And so that makes it totally viable and fine. I just missed that one.
Yep. Oh, just like I missed Dread Fugue. How do you pronounce this?
You got it, Fugue.
Dread Fugue. Okay. All right. So this is Costs just a black. It's a sorcery, uncommon. Cleave for 2 and a black, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Okay, so target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it with mana cost 2 or less. Now, if you cleave, you get rid of the with mana cost 2 or mana value. That's been updated now. 2 or less. That player discards that card. For this one here, I gave it a B-, and
the cleave cost is 2 and a black.
Yes, cleave cost is 2 and a black. With this one here, I gave this a B-. You gave this a D or an F, so did Limited Resources, so kudos to you for getting this one right.
Thanks.
For me, I didn't know. Like, I personally didn't like this one. Since this was an uncommon, this starts off at a B-. I kind of left it just to keep my averages and kind of keep kind of historical data, but I really didn't know how. But I think this is actually one of the very few times that we've really, since we've been reviewing these, that we've really had a discard, and it's not great. I don't like it. I really don't. But I really didn't know how to rate this one. So that's just a miss on my part.
This one's tough. I mean, I think they made it. Okay, so here's my thoughts on this card. I think it's actually going to be a good card in Constructed. It's like a little mini Inquisition of Kozilek, a black mana, get rid of their 2-drop or 1-drop or whatever. That's a very fine card. And then it turns into later 3 mana, they discard a card that you pick. That's good in Constructed. I think it will be a player in Constructed.
Sure.
In Limited, I mean, here's the problem with this card. Let's say you're on the play. It's turn 1. Do you just run out Dread Fugue? What if you miss? What if they just don't have a 2-drop? Then you just discarded a card for free. You can't do that. You will lose games by doing that.
Agreed.
Okay, and then so what? You're holding on, like, I think we'd both agree that 3 mana, they discard a card is probably not very good. So it's kind of like 2 bad cards stapled together that don't add up to a full card for me. They made it uncommon because it would suck to have a bad limited card be a common.
This is true.
So I think that's ultimately the story here.
I can buy that.
All right. Let's go to... This is kind of in the same category as my Hill Giant Fallacy. This is Edgar's Awakening. 3 black sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you discard it, you can pay black. When you do, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So, in the same vein as my Hill Giant Fallacy, I also have a Zombify Fallacy, where I tend to overrate Zombifies because it's a sweet thing to do. And they have historically, when we've been doing this, they don't like Zombifies, which is interesting. I gave this a D or F. I stuck to my guns.
Sure.
They gave it a C-, you gave it a C. LSV's comment on this was, I can see this card if you're in for a Zombify. And I was like, but they hate Zombify. Who's in for a Zombify? It's a Zombify. So they don't like straight up Zombify. 4 mana, resurrect a creature. That's not very good. They don't think in Limited. Unless there's some sort of reanimator, support, something like that, which we don't really have.
No.
This has the other option of when you discard it, pay a black and you raise dead instead. Raise dead is fine. So really this only works with blood tokens, which let you discard. I don't know. This is too finagly for me, and for an effect that is not that exciting. It's like a build around whatever card, which to me said is a D or an F.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Again, this is an uncommon. Always starts at B-, and I rated it. I knocked it down a couple to C, so I did not like it either.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What's up next for you?
Okay, Mind Leech Ghoul. It is 1 and a black, 2/2, common zombie creature. Exploit. This is a common theme. Look at this.
Yeah.
When Mind Leech Ghoul exploits a creature, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. Okay. Yep. I gave this a C+. You gave this a C+.
Yep.
Limited Resources gave this anywhere from a D or an F to a C-, so they said it could be playable, but probably not.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, this is another disconnect right here. So if exploit's so strong, why is your support and casket D's and F's? So I don't like it. I just, man, exploit's just not going to be there. That's just not going to be there. I don't think it will be. But
Yeah.
this is. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is a weird one. So I skipped over a card from earlier where I saw a theme in the grades they were giving, which is Grizzly Bears, 2-mana 2/2s with
Sure.
some kind of upside. Kind of got shit on in this set. So at worst, this is a 2-mana 2/2. Just a completely stock curve filler card. But if you have a creature laying around you're willing to get rid of, it's late in the game, something you have has been pacified, you can just play this and make them discard.
Yep.
So it's a 2-mana 2/2 with a decent bit of upside.
Sure.
So that brought it up for me, and for them it's like barely playable. I don't totally get it. Unless I just think 2-mana 2/2s are that bad.
I don't think so in this set. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know what the number would be, but there's a lot of creatures that are toughness 2 or less. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's nothing. And again, this is an exploit card that they said is a strong mechanic.
Right.
And it does have synergies with the staple cards that we'd mentioned before. So it sounds like they kind of were on the fence on if this is playable or not. So
Yeah.
kind of surprised to hear that.
Yeah, don't really get it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Let's talk about one more card in black.
Okay.
That we both had comments on. Restless Bloodseeker.
Okay, yeah.
So this is 1 in a black for a vampire, a 1/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a blood token. And then you can sacrifice 2 blood tokens to make it into a 3/3 Blood-Soaked Reveler. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, make a blood token. You can pay 5 mana to drain an opponent for 2 life. They lose 2, you gain 2. You gave this a B-. They gave it a build around B. I said C-. So I said barely playable.
Sure.
Why don't you lead us off here? What are your notes? What do you have to say about this?
Well, with this one here, again, being an uncommon always starts at a B- with me. I figured with vampires there should be enough support, but we kind of learned from the last set that werewolves didn't have enough support. So yeah, so it might not be the case necessarily. So I left this at the B-, just kind of trusting the process here. Thankfully helped me on this one here, but I don't really like it. Again, you've heard my rants. This whole set sucks. I don't like blood tokens. And this one here just takes a lot to be able to, like, having to get 2 blood tokens. Maybe it's a little bit easier than I think it's going to be. Because, I mean, you do see where blood tokens are made throughout these commons and uncommons. So, getting 2 blood tokens is doable. It's doable. It's not the easiest thing in the world, I don't think. But it's doable. But then, like, and I think this is kind of where you're going with it. I don't think this payoff's really that great.
No.
So I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, again, I trusted the process here for me on this one here. Thankfully paid off. But I don't have much good to actually say about this card.
No, I mean, okay, so yes, I want to echo your sentiment and then reinforce it as well.
Okay.
So I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the mechanics of the set, blood tokens, and you've alluded to it as well. I think blood tokens suck. Haha, vampire pun.
Right, yeah.
But, okay, so you're getting these tokens. You have to sacrifice them, pay mana for them, and you rummage. So worse than a loot. So in and of themselves, that's their, like, buyout, right? Like, if you don't have anything else to do with a blood token, or you're looking for an answer, you can sacrifice them to rummage. Not that good. So what you really need are other ways to use blood tokens effectively, of which there are not very many in this set. Okay, so this is a 2-mana 1/3, another 2-mana 1/3. Obviously, that's not very good. that is also asking you to gain life on your turn. So it's a life gain build around. Okay, so you have to start gaining life. When you do, eventually you get a couple tokens, you sacrifice them, and then woohoo, I did it. I got my guy on turn 2, and then I gained life on 2 separate turns, and then hooray, I have a 3/3 creature. Yay!
Yeah, not exciting. I mean, it does have the ability to have your opponents lose 2 life and you gain 2 life, and then like it's kind of a circular. Like I do generally like those circular reference cards that like help its own position. Like if it has like something, I do like those. Like in general, but the first half here doesn't have that, so it's like you got to get another card to like help this thing along, and it's like, oh, dang, those are tough cards, tough pills to swallow.
Yeah, it's like it's not good on rate, and then you build around it to transform it. It's like, finally, my uncommon transformed. I worked my ass off, and it's like, okay.
A 3/3. It doesn't fly. It doesn't have death.
No.
It doesn't have anything. It's just a 3/3 with a very expensive ability at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good, like, if you just turn this creature into a 3, obviously it'd be great at 3 mana if you just got the transformed version. 3 mana or 3/3 that could drain people for 5 mana. Obviously, that would be good. But I don't know.
It's underwhelming. I get it.
I think you could have made this a 1 mana 1/1 with the same abilities all the way around. I'd be a little more excited about it because at least I'm investing less into it up front.
I would agree with that. I like that.
It kind of just goes back to an overall thing for me with looking at a lot of these cards. Like the base stats to me, I look at and I'm like, I just don't. This just doesn't do it for me compared to what you get. Like you can just pay in different colors, like in green, you get a 6 mana 6/6 that gains you 5 life. You know, like this just does not do it for me, and it's not aggressive enough, and it's slow, and it doesn't save you anything. It's like just too much to do.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. Okay, I just got one more comment in black. I was looking at our notes. I just think this is funny.
Okay.
For unhallowed Flanix. I'm not even gonna read the card or anything like that. I just think it's funny. Like I'm looking at our grades, all that. So you have it as a D or an F, but you have it as build around, and I think that is awesome and hilarious. It's unplayable, but you need to build around it.
It's true.
I totally get it. Like it definitely works with other cards, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's a very menial card. But I totally understand what you're saying. Like it's.
Yeah, the joke with this card is it is a build around with the black-green gold uncommon that makes your creatures deal damage based on their toughness. Yeah. And it's like, oh, yay, I did it. I played my 4-drop, and then I played my 5-drop, and now I can attack for 13 with no evasion, and I hope they don't do anything to my creature. Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, this is truly... build around D or F is truly a testament to this set. It's like everything's so unplayable, but you got to build around something.
Well, I mean, their grade on it kind of reflects that too. They gave it a build around C. It's like, you have to work your ass off to make it okay to play. Like that's not good.
No, it truly isn't. It truly isn't. I'll tell you what. Let's move to red.
Yes, please.
Let's get out of black.
Please.
All right. Let me kick us off here. Alluring Suitor.
Okay.
Is 2 and a red. Is an uncommon 2/3 vampire. When you attack with exactly 2 creatures, transform Alluring Suitor, which transforms into Deadly Dancer. Ooh. It turns into a 3/3 vampire. Trample. When this creature transforms into Deadly Dancer, add red. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. If you paid red, Deadly Dancer, and another target creature each get +1/+0 until end of turn. I gave this a C+. You gave this a C. Limited Resources gives us a B+.
Yeah,
they love this card.
Great first pick.
Yikes! What? So here's mine. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, this is a great follow-up to the last card we were talking about, because I look at the work you have to do and the payoff they give you. So a 3-mana 2/3 is obviously not very good. So you have to, like, if you want to get your value, you have to attack with it next turn when you play this.
So my thought is actually the only way I would try and make this like work is you have 2 creatures on. You played one on turn 1. You played one on turn 2. You play this first main phase turn 3, and then you attack with exactly 2 creatures.
And then
Because
flips.
it doesn't have to attack.
No,
It's just
it
2
doesn't.
creatures. So I was like, that's best case scenario. So you're gonna have a turn 1 play, which that's kind of hard, and then you got to have a turn 2 play.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it makes it a little better, but I'm still not saying this is great.
Well, I think the best case scenario is this. Here's like, I mean, you have to take this with a grain of salt because
Sure.
you can't go by the best case. But here is the best case for this card.
Mm-hmm.
You play an aggressive 2-drop.
Sure.
You play this as your 3-drop. Turn 4, you're on the play. You attack with this and the other creature. This flips. Now you have a 3/3 trampler attacking on turn 4. And you get a couple extra red mana, and maybe you can play a 6-drop.
Cool.
That's best case.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is a good
Yeah, that
turn
is
of
good.
events.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's assuming you have good attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
That's assuming you're okay attacking with your 2-drop and your 3-mana 3/3 into their board. And then you get to accelerate that one turn. It just, I don't know, like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's not
okay.
B+.
It's fine, but
Yeah.
it's like my big payoff. Oh, I did it. I hit the nut combo. Now my 3-mana creature is a 3/3.
Woohoo!
Yay! Don't I get that anyway?
We did it!
Remember in the core set in Forgotten Realms where we had a 3-mana 3/3 haster? And that was what we got? Like, what is this?
Well, those were the days. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
It doesn't seem that
Not
good.
excited. Yeah. You want to know another card I'm not excited about at all?
Yeah.
This set, okay? Let's just start with that. But no, like in particular, Belligerent Guest. 2 and a red. It's a 3/2 vampire. It's common. Has trample. Whenever Belligerent Guest deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. Cool. Here's my notes. Good luck getting any damage through. If you do, wow, congrats, you got a blood token. Huzzah. Like, seriously, like, how underwhelming
Yeah.
is this card? I'm not playing this. I don't care if it has trample. You might get 1 damage through. It's just not good. Like, that's... So, I think red's pretty weak. I don't know if Limited Resources said anything. I don't know why, but red has just really not been getting any attention here lately. But it's like, all these, like up till... I'm granted, Belligerent Guest is pretty high up on the old list as far as alphabetical order, but, like, you have to get kind of far down before you actually get to a non-3-drop, non-haste red creature. It's kind of weird. It's really... And that's not red.
No.
So that's... I don't know. I was kind of disappointed in red. That was one thing I really noticed whenever I was reviewing these cards.
I mean, I really looked at this. I gave it a C because what would I give just a 3-mana 3/2? It's like, you can play it. I'd probably give that, like, that'd be a D. And then this has, like, upside on top of that.
Yeah.
But I'm completely with you. Like, to me, blood tokens are supremely underwhelming.
Yeah.
I don't care, and I do not see a blood token deck coming together in this set. Could be wrong.
I don't either.
Maybe there is one. I don't see like even the signpost uncommon for blood. We didn't talk about it, but it was like red and a black for a creature that you could sacrifice it, and you give a creature -2/-2 for your blood tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a creature you can sacrifice to kill a creature if you have blood tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's just going 1 for 1. That's not amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not.
I don't feel like that's a good build around. I'm working towards that.
Yeah.
Which
is not even the color. You know, like we're talking about a red card, and the stable card was a black and white.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about it overall. Well, I guess I know how I feel about it. I guess I don't know where it's going to end up. I can imagine a world where there is some nut blood deck, but I kind of want to take a stand here. I think that LR is going to come back and say the same thing about vampires that they said about werewolves in the last set, where it's like,
I
wow,
agree with
this just didn't come together.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. I totally agree with that. Like, I never thought. I'll say this: in the last set, I was like, wow, werewolves really are prominent. Like, really seem like they're going to be really good in the set. Like, they ultimately weren't. I never said that in this set, so it's already starting off on a bad note.
Right. You're not excited at the beginning of it.
Yeah. Just like, ooh, vampires, cool. And I was like, oh, well, you happen to be a vampire.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. I just was not excited about it. Like, I understand the set theme and all that jazz.
Sure.
That's fine, but I was not. I wasn't excited about the set. I'll just keep harping on that. But like, I was never the cards I was excited about. I was very, very rarely a vampire.
Yep.
So,
all right, let's move forward here. There's a card I love when we have a card we agree on the grade and we're very far off from LR, because that's just fun to talk about. This is In the Festivities.
Mm-hmm.
1 red mana for a sorcery. Deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Really?
And each creature and planeswalker they control.
Wow.
We gave it D's or F's. They gave it a sideboard C. I just don't know what deck you're going to play against where you're like, I want this card.
None of them. None of them.
I'm willing to bet that neither of these guys will sideboard this in the entire duration of the format.
Mm-hmm. I just think you need multiple copies, because I did end up looking. I don't have the number in front of me, but I did end up looking to see how many, just 1 toughness creatures there were, and there weren't that many. So it's like, okay, so you need a couple. So it's like, do you really want to put 2, 3, 4 of these in your deck?
No way.
No, not at all.
You're just adding blanks to your deck.
Exactly. Like, just don't play it and move on.
Yeah, I mean, you're praying they have multiple 1 toughness creatures in play when you have this in your hand.
Yeah.
I just don't see this ever happening. I think they're just being overly generous and saying, like, I get it. They're saying, look out for the opportunity where your opponent has lots of 1 toughness creatures. I just don't think you are ever going to see that situation in this format.
No, I don't agree with that either. It's exactly what you said. It's just not something you want to be playing.
No.
And keep them.
So.
Yeah. So, okay. We'll end the festivities on that.
Very good.
Let's see here. Oh, here's one. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of colored artifacts on here, but I actually found one that I'm like, yeah, I can get behind this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's Honeymoon Hearse. It's 2 and a red. It's an artifact vehicle. It's uncommon. It's a 5/5 trample. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. Honeymoon Hearse becomes an artifact creature until end of turn.
So it's a vehicle. You crew it by just tapping any 2 creatures you have.
Yes. And I hesitate to say crew because it's definitely not that. Like, had it been like crew 2 or crew 3 or something like that, you can get away with just having 1.
Right. You have to have 2 creatures to do
You
this.
do. And, on flavor, it makes sense. You got the bride and the groom that are writing on it. Aha, cool.
I think it's very cute.
Yeah, I think so. Flavor-wise, I think it's great. So, I said this was a B. You said this was a D or an F. So this is one where we really were on 2 different camps here for this one.
That's true.
And limited resources was a little bit in the middle for us, so they were at a C+. So I'll start. I'll just say that I actually really love this card. I think it's very efficient. And then if you have a couple now. After I rated this, I kind of thought back to say, ooh, maybe I was a little high on this one, and technically I was. I was thinking crew, like crew 2, essentially. Right. Which, if it were crew 2, holy crap! Like, what would you have rated that if it said crew 2?
I mean, I think that would be very good. It's kind
Yeah.
of trivial to crew with any other creature you have, and
Yeah.
turns into a 5/5 that will rumble and kill anything. You know,
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of initially read that as crew 2, and I gave it the B. That I did. I just didn't change it afterwards. I was like, I still like the card, and if you did have 2 1/1s, or you know, like if there's if you got a couple zombies, 2/2 zombies, riding on a hearse and running over people at 5/5 trample.
get married.
Okay, cool. That'd be kind of hilarious, but yeah, I still think this is a very efficient card, and can definitely see play.
yeah, I think. So I've gone up against a handful of vehicles since I've been getting back into limited.
Mm-hmm.
They never dazzle me.
Okay.
So this one, what's your best case? Your best case is turn 1, play a 1-drop. Turn 2, attack with your 1-drop for 1 damage, play a 2-drop. Turn 3, you're playing this, and they don't have any blockers yet, so you get in for some damage. And then turn 4, you're getting in with your 5/5. It seems like, again, this falls in the same category. It seems like a lot of work to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I might
fair.
just rather play a 3-mana 3/3 than this.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I'm just going off of when I see vehicles when I'm playing in games and limited, I'm generally happy. Because for me, it makes my removal spells doubly effective. Because, like, you played a creature. If I can, like, let's say you did that 1-drop, 2-drop Honeymoon Hearse. I can maybe remove one of your creatures, not the vehicle, and now you can't activate your vehicle. It's like I've killed 2 of your creatures with 1 spell.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is fair.
So it's not that impressive to me. And you know, you play this later, and it's really sucks if you don't have creatures, especially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you don't have creatures in this set, I think you have bigger problems.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay. No, I see what you're saying. I just think it's really efficient. It's just a good strong beater if you can get that going. So I really like that. I like per card. What's a good way to put this? Would you like to have 10 damage spread out over 3 cards, or would you like to have 10 power? We'll say, okay, let's say it that way. Would you rather have 10 power that was spread out over 3 cards, or would you rather have 10 power spread out over 5 cards?
I mean, generally, the more spread out your power is, the better. That's what makes the Mirror Battlesphere, the Battle Ball, so good. Is you're taking in so much power and toughness and spreading it so far and wide. But it depends on where it's coming in the curve, you know.
Yeah.
If you have an early drop that is very strong, which I think is what you're getting at here, that can be very effective. The trick with this is, and this is the trade-off with vehicles in general, you get a more efficient creature at the cost of you have to use other creatures to make it work.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to be proven wrong here, and I'm sure I will in a future MTG ASMR. But when I see vehicles come up against me, I'm pretty happy as a limited player.
Very good. Okay, that sounds good. This might be a trophy for one of us, one way or another.
True, very true.
Yeah, because we are very different camps on this one.
Another one that is kind of similar is Magma Pummeler in red. This is X red for a 0/0 elemental. Comes to play with X 1/1 counters on it. If it would be dealt damage, while it has a 1/1 counter on it, you prevent that damage and remove that many 1/1 counters from it. And when it has counters removed, it deals that much damage to any target. So there's a lot of text here, but it's a red X. It becomes an XX. You prevent the damage, and it does that much damage to things that it hits. So to give you an example, if you paid 2 red, it's a 4-mana 2/2. If it would be dealt damage, you remove those counters, and it does that much damage to something. Oh, that's a lot of text.
It is.
I'll start with their grade. They gave it a C+ to B-, and I gave it a C-, and you gave it a B. So we were all over the place here.
We were, yeah.
You lead us off here. What do you see good in this card? What do you like in this card?
I actually do like a lot with this one. So this can be an attacker. This can also be a blocker. in its own way. So from an attacking standpoint, like if this is a good late game play, as well as a mid game play. So if you got, I don't know, if it's turn 7, you got a 5/5 creature rolling around. Now, obviously, like in any case, like I guess just like in general, like any card should be able to be trumped essentially. So like if it were, it can obviously die to a, like a kill spell or something like that. So like what, sure, stars align. Yep, every card can be beaten. Yep. So, but if you've got like a 5/5 beater and you attack with it, and you're at 5 life or something like that, and you have to like chump block it with a 2/2 or something like that. Yeah, it goes down to a 3/3, but that 2 damage you could still either ping your opponent. If they have a planeswalker that's really causing you a problem, if they're at 2 health, you can just go ahead and kill it. You can ping 2 of their creatures that just have 1 health left. I think this can really swing a board state into your favor. Same thing with blocking. Say that they have I don't know. Say this thing's a 3/3. You're blocking a 5/5. Well, you can block with this. It will still die. Still blocking that creature at least, so you're not taking the damage necessarily. But that 3 damage can go get placed elsewhere. Like if they're just massively blocking, or excuse me, if they're just massively attacking, and you have to like choose your blockers, you can actually supplement their damage, like your blockers' damage, to swing the board again in your own favor. So, or at least reset. So I think this helps either catch you up, or it can help give you more of a board presence whenever you're attacking. So, I think this is a good card. I think it's very resilient. So I gave this a B. I really like this card.
I think in rereading it, I think the big upside of this card is the flexibility in it.
Yeah.
Where early on in the game, it reads as like turn 4 and beyond.
Sure.
It's almost like pay X and it's an XX is what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
You pay 4 mana, it's a 2/2 that when it gets hit for 2, it will do 2 damage and then 2 more damage.
Sure.
So it's like a 4/4 basically.
Yep.
But late in the game, turn 8, you top deck it, and all of a sudden it is a 6/6 that when it dies will do 6 damage to something. Or you can just attack with it, and then what are they going to do? Chump block it? That's bad for them.
Right.
So you can do damage to a bunch of things. So I think the late game plus the mid game is just a vanilla creature, that's fine. And then late game, it's this monster that they have to deal with. I think I was too low on it, talking about it now.
Yeah, I understand that. I think it's a card that definitely has to be dealt with. It reminds me a lot of like big giant green creatures, and in red, I think that's something that is sort of rare to find. So it's kind of nice just having that ability to do that. And like you said, this card's very flexible in what you can do with it. So,
well, let's keep this train rolling here. Where you're going to convince me of something. Let's talk about Sanguine Statuette.
Oh, okay, very good.
Oh, God, I need convincing on this card. So this is 1 in a red for an artifact. When Sanguine Statuette enters the battlefield, make a blood token. When you sacrifice a blood token, it becomes a 3/3 vampire artifact creature with haste until end of turn. I gave this a D or F. They gave it a build around C+. You gave it a B-. Well, I guess you let off with the last one, so let me pitch you on why I don't think this is good.
Sure.
You and I seem to agree that blood is not very good.
Correct, yes.
I guess I would start there. If we're starting with the premise that blood is not very good, then you don't want to be in this deck. So you don't want to be sacrificing blood. You don't want to be activating this thing. Let's say you played on turn 2. Turn 3, you're not going to be playing a spell. You're not going to be sacrificing blood. So it's going to be a long time before this turns into a 3/3 creature. I think realistically, this is going to be a 2 mana 3/3 that can't attack until turn 5 or 6. I just don't think this will be. It's priced as if it's aggressive, but it's not, and it's also not defensive.
No,
And
that's fair.
It giving you a blood token doesn't make up for any of that because I don't care about blood tokens.
Hmm.
So what do you think?
Yeah, a little high on this one actually. And starting out again, going with my process B- for uncommons. I really didn't touch this one. But I kind of equated this one, and this is kind of unfair to mainlands whenever I kind of equated it to this, but I was thinking there's a little bit more evasion with this one, and it's a fairly evasive creature that can attack. Like there's more like the effigies that we used to have those too. I'm trying to think if we've actually reviewed any effigies that you activate during a turn, but I can't think of any.
I don't think so, no.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, so this is kind of new territory as well, which kind of alludes to why we had such a wide range of grades. So that's interesting, actually. I was thinking of that just as I was talking there, but no, I just thought this was just a pretty efficient creature. It is vampires too. If vampires are strong at all, then great. But yeah, realistically, I would have gone a little bit lower had I kind of redid this one. I'm more in your camp.
Imagine this were a 2-mana artifact that said pay 1, it becomes a 3/3 until end of turn.
Yeah.
I still don't think that's great.
Sure. Better than this, though.
But it's still better than this. So that's why I said I don't think this is a great card.
Yeah.
I don't, like, again, thinking of the best case scenario, the best case scenario doesn't sound that good to me. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Like, the reason this fails compared to manlands or compared to, artifacts that add mana that you can activate is that they're either doing something else for you or they're lands and they're not taking up card slots in your deck. This isn't doing either of those things. So I think it just doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, I would agree with that actually. That's I would definitely be closer to like the C- to DRF category now that we're talking about that one. I'm not really on board with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have one more you want to talk about in red?
I do. So this is actually like we're kind of opposite camps on this one a little bit. We're both in the C's versus a B for limited resources, but Voltaic Visionary. This is a 1 and a red. It's a human wizard, 3/1, uncommon, and then you tap Voltaic Visionary. It deals 2 damage to you. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. When you play a card exiled with Voltaic Visionary, transform it, and it transforms into Volt Charged Berserker. This card, it's a human berserker. It's a 4/3. Volt Charged Berserker can't block. For me, I rated this as a C-. You were a C+. So both of us were like, yeah, it's playable. It's average.
Right.
LR rated this as a B. And for me, like, I think this is kind of steep for what you get. Maybe I'm just off base on this one, but yeah, you pay 2. Does not have haste, so turn 3 is the first chance you actually get to play this.
Right.
And to deal 2 damage to yourself just to get another card exiled out of your library. So imagine it's a land.
Are you saying that as a bad thing?
No, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but
see, in my head, that's like ideal.
Yeah,
you play turn
you get
2.
a land. Mm-hmm.
You get to play the land for free, and now your guy turns into a 4/3. So you paid 2 mana, drew a card, and this is a 4/3 that you paid 2 mana for.
Mm-hmm. And lost 2 life.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be aggressive with this, but that's pretty sweet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I will say, this is one of the cards that, in hearing them talk about it, I came up on a little bit.
Oh, did you?
Because it's kind of like you play this on turn 2, and then one of 2 things happens. They don't have a blocker, in which case you're bashing them for 3, which is great. Or they do play something, you activate this, and try to get your spell and flip this, which is also great. So it's kind of just good in general.
Yeah.
And even when you play this late, it's going to let you draw a card, or multiple cards, and turn into a decent-sized aggressive threat. So I think it's actually pretty good.
Okay, that's fair. I guess I'd have to see cards like these more in practice, because I just really hate pinging myself for 2 damage just every time.
Yeah.
Like, if you get, boy, it really feels bad if it's like turn 3 and like, oh crap, there goes my, 5 mana cost spell that I would love to have in, like the mid game or something. So, and then especially like as like an opponent, like, oh boy, like I can just straight up exile that card by just like destroying this creature or something like that. And again, I understand if stars align, any card can be beaten. But
I think even in that situation, the upside is, let's say you play it on turn 2. Let's say they play a blocker on their turn 2 or turn 3, and you're like, I don't really want to roll the dice if I can draw a card. Attack with it. Offer the trade. Like, at worst, this is a 2 mana that trades up in most cases. So,
that's fair.
And they're incentivized to block it because they don't want you drawing an extra card.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. I bet in practice I'd like this card a lot more.
I think it actually works out. I think this is actually a decent card.
That's fair. That is fair. We ready to move into green?
Yes, please.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Crawling Infestation.
Okay.
And this is an enchantment, right? Yes. 2
Yes,
and a
it
green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 2 cards. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere during your turn, you make a 1/1 green insect creature token, and it has your favorite clause. You can only do this once per turn.
It's Coward Clause.
I don't know.
Cowards.
Like, what are they afraid of? I don't know. It seems so strange to me. Like, oh, we're afraid you're gonna take a cool build around and pop off with it. It's like,
wow. Yeah.
Spider spawning from original Innistrad was fun because of its build around pop off potential. So this is kind of sad.
Is Wizards just trying to get rid of what was it? Spikes and Johnnies, right? So Spikes are the tournament players, and then the Johnnies are the
big things.
Yeah.
Big numbers.
Is Wizards just trying to kill off the Johnnies?
I don't know. I don't know what this is. This seems, I don't know, just as like the fun limiter. Like you would have to work hard to make this great, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's why I gave it a D or F. I don't like, you gave it a C+, they give it a build around B. And I just don't know what the pop off situation is. Like you take your turn 3, it does nothing.
Yeah.
You just play this on turn 3. Next turn, you mill 2 cards. Let's say you hit a creature. You get a 1/1 insect. Hooray, I guess. Like,
yeah.
The pop off of this is you make a 1/1 every turn, and that's best case scenario.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't seem very good to me.
No, it's not. And again, I started B-, and I brought it down to a C+. So I did not like it. It's the coward statement. Did it not have the coward statement? Would you like this better?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, then there would have been like potential of like you play mulch, let's say on your next turn, and you mill 2 or 3 creature cards, and then you get some disturb cards in there. Like now you're like putting stuff together, and I can see something happening here.
And that would be a build around B right there.
Yeah, maybe now I can imagine the upside. I can imagine something great happening from this. And here I just don't see it.
Yeah. Yep. That's
a kind of similar card actually is Laid to Rest.
Okay.
This is another enchantment, 3 and a green. Whenever a human you control dies, draw a card. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, you gain 2 life. Now, I'm kind of discounting the second part.
Yeah.
You gain some life. Incidental life gain. It's upside for sure, but obviously the meat of this is when a human dies, you draw a card. That's 4 mana. It's hard for me to get over that. 4 mana, and then you have to also build around it.
Yep.
And then your humans have to start dying.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably too harsh. I mean, I gave it a C+. You gave it a build around B. They gave it an A, which blows my mind.
That is one of the first times I think I've seen just a straight A.
Yeah.
And for Laid to Rest?
Yeah, I don't totally get it. Like, I guess I can imagine situations where this is very good. If you're in the humans deck, like if most of your creatures are humans, I get it. Like you play this, Now it's like I'm either winning or I'm just drawing cards when they're
Yeah.
killing my creatures. I still don't think that's an A, by the way.
No, I don't think it's an A. Like,
What if this was 4 mana, you just draw a card every turn? Then it's an A. This is not
Yeah.
that good.
Oh, it's like a Course of Portal, essentially, at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, yeah, that's very sweet. This is not that good, and you have to work so hard for it. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's oh, what about like Howling Mine? Where would you put Howling Mine compared to this?
I don't think limited Howling Mine is not as good because it's symmetrical. Here, at least you
Oh,
can take
that's
advantage of the
true.
fact that you're the only one drawing cards.
Yeah. Was there another card that more was it like Font of Mythos or something?
That one was both players drawing cards as well, but like,
Oh, was it? Okay.
I think.
Yeah. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player draws 2 additional cards. Okay, never mind. Never
Right.
mind. So this is a little bit more one-sided, but
It could be good. Like, there'll be decks where
sure.
it's good.
Sure. Not A level though, I don't think. That's
This is kind of a tough
Boy.
one because I agree with them.
Mhm.
There will be decks in this format where this card does perform as an A.
Mm-hmm. And card
I
draw
just
is
don't-
king. Like
Yes.
it is true.
Again, just the numbers I can't get over. You have to pay 4 mana up front. Nothing happens.
Mhm.
Like, that's a high cost.
Yes, it is. Wow,
You
wait.
know, you compare that to a common, which is right after this one, Rural Recruit, 4 mana 1/1 training. When it ETBs, make a 3/1 green boar creature token. So you've got 4/2 in stats that when you attack, you get an extra +1/+1 in stats spread across 2 cards. It's like it just does everything for you, and you don't even have to work for it.
Right.
I don't. This one is just hard for me to swallow.
Yeah, I get that. I still think it's a good card, and if you build around it, I think you can get good results. But to make it an A, of all the cards, I think this is the first A that I think has been given. I think there's other cards that are more worthy of the A status than this one.
I think there are cards in this set that I'd rather give an A to. Like, there's premium removal that I would give A's to over this.
Yeah,
Obviously, because I gave this a shit grade.
sure. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as what they're thinking it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about Snarling Wolf.
Okay.
So 1 drop, I believe.
Yes, it is. One of the few.
1 green, 1/1. 1 in a green, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You can activate it once each turn. Do you know what
Very
is special
simple.
about this card?
No, I don't.
It is a reprint, and it is a reprint from the very last set, Midnight Hunt.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't
Actually-
even pay attention to that.
So is Bramble Armor, which is also in green, and is a reprint from the last set.
How lazy is that?
I know.
Oh my god.
So it's very lazy, and it's also like, well, I felt bad because I should have looked and seen, oh, this is a reprint. But also, yeah, this was not a good card in the last set. They gave it a D or F. They just got done playing it. Like, so yeah, just a quick note on that one. And then also in green, Toxic Scorpion. 1 in the green, a 1/1 Death Touch. When it ETBs, another creature you control gains Death Touch. I was mostly just grading this on 1 in a green, 1/1 Death Touch,
Sure.
which is like, they like Death Touch typically, so I said this was good. They gave it a C, you gave it a C-. I just don't, like, in the same way that when they get a counter spell, it's like flip a coin to see if it's good or bad. Cheap Death Touchers, same thing. Like, flip a coin. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's a B. Sometimes they're like, that's a C. Just doesn't, like, I think this is fine. Like, 2 mana, blocks anything, and trades with anything. I think that's a good card.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, let's wrap up here with some colorless cards.
Okay.
Do you want to lead us into our discussion of our first one?
Sure. So this is one where I'm not high on. You are much higher on.
Yeah.
This is a Boarded Window. It costs 3 colorless. It's an uncommon artifact. Creatures attacking you get -1/-0. At the beginning of each end step, if you were dealt 4 or more damage this turn, exile Boarded Window. I gave this a D or an F. I really wasn't very high on this because, like, I just think it's pretty easy to get 4 damage across, even after the -1, -0. You gave this a build around B. LR gave this a sideboard C to C+.
Yeah.
So, which I think for me, now looking back on it, I think LR's kind of where it's at for me as well.
Yeah,
but
probably.
I would like to hear like what your thoughts are with this one, because I thought, there's just gonna be so many creatures out there, and yeah, it'd be nice to just get -1, -0, but I just don't think it's enough to really tip the scales kind of like in your favor. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was just a little too weak. Plus just a past history on limited resources really hating on artifacts. So kind of with those, I decided to give this one a D or an F.
Yeah, I respect that. To me, I took a chance with this one because permanents that continuously affect power and toughness are generally more strong than they look.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I especially wanted a build around on this because a couple reasons. One, if you're more controlling, like if you have removal spells, it's harder for them to get rid of this, and then harder for them to attack you and actually do any damage to you.
Very good point.
It's also a build around because I don't think many people will like picking up this card. And if you can pick up multiples, this card gets nasty.
Yeah, now that's very true. If you get 2 to 3 of them.
If you just put 2 in play, creatures attacking you get -2, -0.
Yeah,
that
that's
is
tough.
really hamstringing your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
It also makes you more vulnerable because now if they can do 4 damage to you, they blow up 2 of your permanents, which sucks.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I see a world where this is a good card. I mostly just gave it the benefit of the doubt because anytime you have something that's going to affect your opponents and combat steps, it's probably going to be better than you think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, obviously this one comes with a lot of risk on board.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I've got 2 more here. The only comment I'll say for Honored Heirloom, it's 3. This will be a very familiar one for me. Artifact, tap, add 1 mana of any color, or you can pay 2 and tap, exile target card from a graveyard. I gave this a B-. You guys gave us a D or an F. All I'm going to say is thank you for my Triumph Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true.
Yep, that's a nice quick hitter for me. So, the last one that I wanted to talk about was Lantern of the Lost. This is 1 mana. It's an uncommon artifact. When Lantern of the Lost enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard, or you pay 1 and tap, exile Lantern of the Lost, exile all cards from all graveyards, then draw a card. I gave this a sideboard C+. You gave this a sideboard C, so we're pretty well the same thing. Limited Resources gave this a D or an F. I think there's way too much graveyard interaction for this to simply be a D or an F, but I would not play this in my main. This is a sideboard if needed. And it's a fine card. Like that's truly all it is.
It's cheap, it's colorless, it cycles, and against like a heavy disturb deck, this just ranches them. Against a heavy mill deck, this ranches them. I think, I'd bring this in against a deck that has a bunch of shit going in their graveyard. Why not?
Now it hurts yours too. That'd be the only caution with this one, but
if you also have a sideboard thing,
exactly.
Yep.
So, I think it warrants play. Again, in the sideboard as needed. So I think this is a perfect sideboard card here.
Well, our longest episode to date, I believe. We had a lot of cards to talk about in that one.
We did.
And a lot of passionate thoughts about this set.
Yes.
All right, well, the only thing left here is for us to reveal who won. So, without further ado, Seth's final score, 304, mine, 275.
Oh, man, that's close.
It was close.
Well, it's close.
I was going to say, when we always, the day before, the day of, we update this spreadsheet we use, and I shared it with you, and you said, I lost, LOL.
Yeah, I just text real quick, because I was 20 cards in, just reviewing my cards to try and see which ones I wanted to talk about.
Right.
I was like, God, I am so far off on these. It was ridiculous. I really wasn't looking at your scores per se. I just knew mine. I was like, man, I am off. And this is probably one of the highest scores I've had. But this is also probably one of the highest scores you've had as well
That's
for like final
definitely
scores.
true.
Yeah.
Definitely
So
true.
we definitely differed on our opinions with limited resources. So
Well, that was my thought. Just casually looking through, is like we mostly agreed we were on the right side of things. We were both off from LR in a lot of cases. I was just like very slightly closer sometimes, and it seems like that was the difference maker here.
sure.
Because only being 30 points off in a 300-point set is
That's not so much.
pretty damn close.
Well, that was fun. It's a good time.
Yeah,
as
it was.
usual.
I love Seth's rant. That's gonna have to become a staple.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep making these kinds of sets, then it'll be happening. So I know. I truly, honestly, like, in all seriousness, if anybody from Wizards listen to this, like, take this set as a lesson learned and like show this to any future employees and say, don't do this. Like, this is just truly just like, everybody uses cash grab and all that stuff, and you have been having some cash grabs. We're not gonna kind of beat around the bush on that. But this is your last bastion. Like, if you're coming out with sets, this is like true, like, where Magic like stems from. This is your foundation. If you mess that up, man, where are you at that point? Like, who are you? And I understand that, like, you're part of a corporation, all that stuff. The point of a corporation is to make money. But damn, you gotta hold true to yourself sometimes. Like, find other ways. Like, go make more secret layers. Go, like, I gave you some, like, go do Star Wars, go do Avengers, go do Lord of the Rings, go do them. Charge thousands of dollars for them. There'll be people that do that. So just don't mess up your bread and butter, like, and what you were founded on. Like, truly, it's just, don't do it, please. I beg you, or I'm gonna have to keep like having these rants, and I don't want to do that. So I don't know. C'est la vie.
With that, I think it's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye bye.